So there are some private labeling specific issues that we see. First is focusing only on the price and not the quality. Once again, I think I've spoken enough about this, but it's very important that in the early stages you do not rule out the slightly higher price suppliers, because very often they tend to be the ideal suppliers, especially if you're selling on Amazon, because you just need 2 bad reviews and we know the sales just halt. So it's very important that you have a more holistic approach to sourcing than just focusing on the price. I also see a lot of people start off with new product as their, so a customized product or a new product idea that they have as their first product. So I personally believe that the learning curve with selling on Amazon, the learning curve with importing from China is steep enough, and you don't want to add to that with new products. So with new products, because we've done a lot of new product projects over the years, we found the process tends to be a lot longer and a lot more complex. You really need to have a good idea of a product development process to get into this. And I do feel this is something you should do at some point, because it does create a barrier to entry. It allows you to have higher margins over the longer run, but just not as your first product. And finally, a lot of people don't protect their mold. So we had an email a few months ago from someone who had made some customized dog beds, and they were selling at 600% margin. They were doing really well. They didn't invest in a design patent because they thought they have a custom mold, and that's enough to keep competitors away. 6 months later, they found 2 people selling the exact same product on Amazon. So we got an email saying, can you go out and see which other factory is making this exact same product? So we were pretty confident it's the same factory. We got the factory information, approached them as a new buyer, and the factory was actively promoting that product to other buyers. So this is a very common scenario in China. And the best way, when we do these projects, we have a lot of clauses in our contracts about who owns the molds, what will happen to the mold when the goods are not being produced, what happens if you decide to change supplier. If you can get ownership of the mold, that's probably the best thing. But if not, you need to have a solid contract in place. Patent issues are another issue. That's something we find quite often. So a lot of the time in the product research process, patents are something people get confused with, because it's probably the hardest and the most boring part of the product research, because you have resources out there, you've got databases you can look at, you can do some clever Google searches to see if there's a competing patent, but you can never be 100% certain unless you hire a patent attorney. And I have seen at least 6 cases in the last 5 years I've been doing sourcing where people were taken off Amazon literally overnight and they had a lot of unsold inventory. A good case was the squeeze cups. So the squeeze cups were really popular about 2 years ago. People were buying it at $2 and selling at 20 pounds, which is like $30, and making really good margins. There were lots of sellers on Amazon. They were all doing well. And then virtually overnight, they were all wiped off because someone filed an infringement claim. They had a lot of unsold stock, and there's not much they could do with it. And normally what happens in these cases is Amazon would not investigate. They would simply take the product down and send you the email of the person filing the claim, and you're left to deal with them. And if you don't have a lawyer, that's not always easy to do. So this is something, while it's difficult to be certain, you should do your best in terms of making sure that you're not sourcing products that have patent claims in them, because this is something that can get you out of business if you're left with unsold inventory.